Welcome to another exciting episode of the Trap Nerds Podcast.
This is not an episode.
I'm pretty sure this is a promo.
You know what it is. We in this piece.
Trap nerds, real niggas like you never heard. We giving you reliable gaming news
with the best movie and TV reviews from a blurred perspective.
All things inside and out of blurred culture.
Listen to the Trap Nerds Podcast on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Sino Show. I'm your host, Sino McFarlane. I'm an addiction specialist. I'm a coach, I'm a translator, and I'm God's middleman. My job is to crack hearts and let the light in and help everyone shift the narrative. I want to help you wake up, and I want to help you get free. Most importantly, I don't want you to feel alone. Listen to the Sino Show every Wednesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2020, in a small California mountain town, 5 women disappeared. I found out what happened to all of them, except one, a woman known as Dia, whose estate is worth millions of dollars. I'm Lucy Sheriff. Over the past 4 years, I've spoken with Dia's family and friends, and I've discovered that everyone has a different version of events. Hear the story on Where's Dia? Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Episode 427, how Katelyn paid off $100,000 of debt in 18 months and got $30,000 in scholarships.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends Podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends Podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And today we are sharing Katelyn's story. If you are heading to school, have a child or a loved one heading to school, this is going to be a really good one for you because we're not only talking about a debt-free story in our
Debt-free summer.
We are also talking about scholarships, and Katelyn got so much in scholarships, and we're just excited to share her story with you.
I loved all of the ones that we did, but this one particularly struck a chord with me, hearing how she was able to essentially cash flow her doctorate program as well. So Katelyn's real smart. And she's got a lot of really great tips for us.
She's real smart.
So I'm excited about that.
Yes. But first, this episode is brought to you by vanity. I am vain. I am petty. These are things I would say about myself. And I'm proud of that. And one of the things that brings me the most joy in life are podcast reviews. For my entire life, my 35 years of living, I've wanted to hit 1,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts. And now we are less than 60 reviews away. And I am going to bribe you to fulfill my vain desires. So I'm going to bribe you with $100 to leave a review. Not all 60 of you, but one person will win $100. All you have to do, this is before July 31st, all you have to do is leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Screenshot it before you submit. This is important. Then hit submit and send us the screenshot at jen@frugalfriendspodcast.com. Or you can, if you get the friend letter, you can reply to the latest friend letter. That'll go to my inbox. Reply with a screenshot of your review. Usually takes like about a week for them to update onto the actual site. So we'll wait a week after July 31st and we will draw a winner for a $100 gift card. And normally we give out Amazon gift cards, but I'm going to say you can have a $100 gift card to almost anywhere you want. You let me know because I'm bribing you to do this. Vanity. It is unbecoming, but when you've become who you want to be, what's a little unraveling? It's a little unhingedness.
Wow. Ever since you were just 2 years old, this has been your goal, huh? 1,000 reviews.
You think I'm 37? I said 35, all 35 of my years.
Yeah, but so that means that even when you were 2, This is what you wanted?
Before 2.
Before even
Yeah.
a baby.
When I was bebe. Yes.
You didn't even know what to dream for, but this is what you were dreaming for.
I just want to be, I just want people to say things about me.
Yeah. I'm just going to reiterate that because it takes a week to populate, that's why you have to take the screenshot before you hit the submit button. There's been so many times that people have said, I left a review, but I can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
Take a screenshot before you hit submit.
And then hit
send it to
submit.
us.
And then we will check after a week after July 31st to make sure the winner did actually hit submit. So
it's complicated, but you know what? Leave the complications to us. You just leave a review.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot, email it to us. We'll handle the rest. You'll be entered to win.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to just be 60. We can go over. Don't feel limited.
Please don't.
Only one will win, but everyone can leave a rating and review. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right. So if you love debt-free stories, we have been doing debt-free stories all summer. We've got 10 stories for you from listeners just like you, and they are running the spectrum of ways to pay off debt, whether in full, in part, with side hustles, with lowering expenses, through student loan forgiveness, through whatever. And so Katelyn's really unique story today is she got a lot of scholarships. So this is in addition to paying off $100,000 in debt in 18 months. So it included multiple jobs, strategic budgeting, and then on top of that, got 2 master's degrees, right? And was pursuing a doctorate when we talked to her. Small stuff, right?
Just little baby steps,
Yeah. So without further ado, let's share Katelyn's story with you.
Let's do it. We've got a really fantastic guest and fellow Frugal Friends podcast listener sharing her and her family's story today. Katelyn, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. So, Katelyn, tell us a little bit about you, your family, where you guys live.
Okay, so me and my husband, we live in Hampton, Virginia, which is on the coast of Virginia. We have 3 children. So my stepdaughter is 14, my daughter is almost 12, and my son is almost 11. My younger 2 are less than a year apart, and we are upon birthday season as well as Christmas. So December is a difficult month in our household when it comes to finances. And yeah, my husband and I, we've been married for 12, going on 13 years now. And he is in law enforcement. And my full-time job, I work in human resources for a large Catholic healthcare system.
Awesome. Yeah. December sounds like a busy month for you. But I mean, spoiler alert, you're debt free now. So that's probably not as bad as December's might have
Don't
used
give it
to
away.
Be. But can you tell us, let's back up. Can you tell us about the debt? How much was it? What was it comprised of? Just give us all the deets.
It was a little bit of everything. So it was over $100,000, and that included 8 credit cards, 2 personal loans, 2 car loans, 20 student loans, 3 medical bills, 2 cell phones, and a 401k loan.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Exactly.
Okay, so how did this menagerie accumulate? Like, was this an instance? Was this an event that occurred where you had to take out a lot at once, or was this more like over time?
It was kind of just a little bit of accumulation over, the first decade of our marriage. When we got married, I was quite young. I was 22, 23, and we were both in very entry-level roles within our career. So I think maybe our first year married, we made $70,000 combined income total, but we had 3 small kids, and they're so close together that, they went to preschool together. And so all of those, and then like the activity expenses all hit together. Looking forward, everyone will be driving around the same time. They'll all be going to college around the same time. So we just it just started very small, putting a little money on a credit card here, taking out a credit card there. We needed a personal loan for this, home repairs. We did have a custody battle in there at one point where we paid a lot of money for a lawyer. So that was the bulk of the credit card debt. But then it just kind of compounded because we could never get out of the minimum payment cycle. And then we would put a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then the student loan debt, both of us were non-traditional students. So I had started college right out of high school, dropped out, stopped a few times. My husband did not go to college right out of high school, decided to go back later once he was established in his career. We were not informed consumers when we started our education journey. We kind of just took the easy path, which was, hey, here's these great schools that offer this great format. But guess what? Those schools are really expensive. And student loans don't seem like real money in the moment. Right? Because there's kind of that thought process that, oh, well, I'll end up making more money in the long run and I'll be able to pay it back. Well, fast forward 10 years, I had spent $60,000 on my undergrad. My husband had spent $30,000 on his. And we were getting to a point where we were going to have to start making those payments. And when we hit this point in March of 2021, we had always been able to pay our bills. We were never behind, but it was always this anxiety of, oh my goodness, are we going to be able to make our paycheck stretch and meet all of these minimum payments? And we were just paying minimum payments, nothing over and above to really dig ourselves out. And then March of 2021, we were still in the student loan pause, but I knew we were going to have to do something because when those student loans, came due, we were not going to be able to make those minimum payments because there was too much what do they say? Too much month at the end of the paycheck.
At the end of the money.
Right. So that's when we just sat down and we had a really difficult conversation about and we had come so far too. So we had both been advancing in our careers, things of that nature, and we made too much money to not have any money. So we sat down, we listed out all of our debt, which it still makes me, like I have the spreadsheet up right now and looking at it just makes me just so nauseous when we put it all down because it was like we thought we had everything and then we were like, oh, this debt and it just kept ticking up and ticking up and ticking up. And then when it hit over $100,000, I was like, okay, we're going to stop, we're going to make a plan and we're going to do something about that. So that's really how we ended up starting the journey.
Oh, I can so feel all of those different layers that you're describing of young family, young kids, trying to advance in a career, not currently making a lot of money. And there's just a lot of reasons for debt accumulation, in addition to maybe not being informed consumers, as you've described. But what a common story of how you found yourself collecting the menagerie of debt. So totally understand it. But can you share a little bit about how long then did it take you to pay off this debt?
Took us about 18 months to pay everything off. I will say, so we started this journey with the same guy that everybody typically starts this journey with. So, and some of those principles really did help us. And I was really thankful for that kind of start to the journey. And as we progressed through it, I was able to incorporate more perspectives and opinions and my own kind of process through all of this. But we use the snowball method. But I call it like the modified snowball because when we listed everything out, we did have a little bit of cash in the bank. So we had about $5,000. And instead of going for the smallest debt first, I went for where's the biggest impact on my monthly budget first. So we were able to kind of start the snowball rolling a little bit more than we could have if we had followed that particular protocol, because we had a couple payments that were like a $350 payment that had $3,000 left on it. So that got our snowball rolling. And then I think I was able to pay off another $150 minimum payment. So that got us up to $500. So that really pushed us forward on our journey. And then my husband worked an amazing amount of overtime. Like he must have worked some weeks 100 hours. I think there were days that he went without sleep. It was it was a lot. And I feel very blessed that he has that opportunity. So law enforcement does not make a lot of money when you look at base pay, but the opportunity to earn is there. And then I actually picked up one side job, and then I ended up with 3 jobs at the end of this, and I still have all 3 jobs. So, well, one of those jobs I ended, and then I started a different job. So we definitely took advantage of every opportunity that we could to increase our income just to knock this stuff out.
Wow. What was that experience of working all of those hours and doing all that? Because that is something that does worry people entering a debt-free journey. Did you find benefit in that? Obviously during the journey, but like now, what was that experience like?
I wouldn't change any of it. I think we ended up, even though we didn't see each other a lot, the time we were able to spend together, it was very meaningful. Our children saw us working really hard, and now they ask really open, like we have open conversations about earning and education and bills. Actually, this morning I was just talking to my middle schooler. Her and her best friend want to get an apartment when they turn 18. And when we talked about how much an apartment was, they have a different plan now, which maybe involves everyone moving into my house, but I'm not quite sure how that's
That's amazing. Sounds like it might have backfired.
Yeah. May have backfired a little bit, but they understand the value of hard work. And it was tough for a while. And I know physically it was very hard on my husband because his job is not easy, where my job is difficult, but 2 of my jobs are remote. So my full-time job is remote. And I'm an adjunct instructor for a local university online. And then I do teach a leadership class in person once a month. But so I was lucky enough to be here, and I have flexibility. So we didn't have to, childcare was never an issue for us because they're all in school. I don't think this would have been as easy when they were younger and they weren't all in school. But yeah, it's been a journey, and we learned a lot in the process.
That's so great.
Mm-hmm. Now that I have kids, I'm hyper aware of the information I put online. But unfortunately, there's only so much I can do. Our personal information is everywhere on the internet, and I don't have time to monitor and take it off every website. That's why I personally use Delete Me.
Delete Me is a service that finds and removes any personal information from hundreds of data broker websites and makes sure it stays off. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. It's always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet.
I signed up, completed a questionnaire, and they took it from there, submitting opt-out requests to data broker sites and keeping my personal info private.
To take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now, at a special discount for our listeners, today get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/frugal and use promo code FRUGAL at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/frugal and enter code FRUGAL at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/frugal, code FRUGAL.
Hi, I'm Katie Lowe's.
And I'm Guillermo Diaz.
And now we're back with another season of our podcast, Unpacking the Toolbox, where Guillermo and I will be rewatching the show
to officially unpack season 3 of Scandal.
Unpredictable, you don't see it coming. It's a wild, wild ride. The twists and turns in season 3.
Mesmerizing.
But also, we get to hang out with all of our old Scandal friends like Bellamy Young, Scott Foley, Tony Goldwyn, Debbie Allen, Kerry Washington.
So many people.
Even more shocking assassinations from Papa and Mama Pope.
And yes, Katie and I's famous teeth-pulling scene that kicks off a romance.
And it was peak TV. This is new Scandal content for your eyes, for your ears, for your hearts, for your minds.
Well, suit up, gladiators. Grab your big old glass of wine and prepare yourselves for an even more behind the scenes. Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Meet the real woman behind the tabloid headlines in a personal podcast that delves into the life of the notorious Tori Spelling as she takes us through the ups and downs of her sometimes glamorous, sometimes chaotic life and marriage.
I don't think he knew how big it would be, how big the life I was given and live is. I think he was like, oh yeah, things come and go. But with me, it never came and went.
Is she Donna Martin or a down-and-out divorcee? Is she living in Beverly Hills or a trailer park? In a town where the lines are blurred, Tori is finally going to clear the air in the podcast Misspelling. When a woman has nothing to lose, she has everything to gain.
I just filed for divorce. Whoa. I said the words that I've said like in my head for like 16 years. Wild.
Listen to Misspelling on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So can you share some of those things that you've learned that you're taking with you now?
So one of the big takeaways from this was when we sat down and looked at our student loans, and I paid $60,000 for my undergrad, it really made me sick. So during all of this process of him working, me working all of these jobs, I earned 2 master's degrees. And because of information that I heard on podcasts like yours and others, I actually ended up profiting $1,800 off of those 2 master's degrees, completing them both in under 14 months. And now I'm on a journey to complete my doctorate for $0. And so far I have been successful.
Wow.
Yay!
And this is something you would have never known was available or to pursue without starting this journey, right?
Nope. I didn't know how to be an informed consumer. I mean, I worked for a bank for a really long time in lending, and everybody ask their financial questions to a bank. Well, that's not the people you should be asking, right? Like you have to research on your own and get independent thoughts and consult multiple sources. And I took that information and applied it to going back to school. And I was able to find programs that allowed me to maximize my education benefits, that offered scholarships. I found independent scholarships. I just asked questions. Like for my doctorate, they gave me the tuition, and I have great education benefits at my employer as well, but it wasn't enough to cover it. And I just made friends with the financial aid officer and said, hey, is there anything you guys can do? And she emailed me back a day later and was like, hey, we have this grant. You qualify for it. Like, here's the money. And had I not asked, I would have been paying more. And it was an incredible feeling, like, because the worst they can say is no, right? Like, and in this case, I ended up getting a lot of money for just asking the right question. But I think that's a challenge for a lot of people because people don't know the right questions to ask. They have no idea where to start.
Well done.
Yeah.
Katelyn, this is so inspiring to hear. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, but as we kind of endeavor on this journey and we learn from others and we listen to podcasts and we watch YouTube videos to get inspired, then we can know to just ask the questions, right? Like what was the downside? And the upside is being able to get your doctorate degree at no cost. And what you were able to see with your 2 master's degrees, my goodness, you are an accomplished human being. And this is so encouraging to hear what you've been able to find with the financial component of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what a debt-free journey does is not only it kind of brings you to net zero, but it really gives you the opportunity to find what questions to ask. That's like an added benefit that you don't really think of. Like the paying off the debt isn't the solution to all of your financial problems, but it is this amazing foundation that gives you space to get to that net zero and to start to discover those right questions. So congratulations for asking the exact right questions to get 2 masters and a doctorate. That's mind-blowing.
Thank you.
So in this debt payoff process, did you use any large sums of money, like an inheritance or the selling of property or lump sum savings? Did you use any large chunks of money to hack away at the debt?
No, really the only thing we had was that $5,000 initial in our savings. Everything else, like we have a boat, and it would have been really easy to sell our boat, but our boat got us through 2 summers with our family with not having to spend anything. So that kind of ended up benefiting us, right? Like, but really we didn't have anything to sell. Our cars are a decade old and we're just kind of average, normal people. So, I mean, we sold a few small pieces of furniture on, Facebook Marketplace, just stuff, but that actually came with because in the middle of the debt payoff, we also started more of a minimalistic journey too. Just, our home, we moved in 2020 into a larger house. And around the same time as our debt payoff, we started looking around and going, gosh, we moved into a bigger house and we still have no room. And, we learned that our home is not a storage facility. It's a place to live. So we started just kind of moving stuff out that way too. Thank you.
Yes, this is amazing. Yes, that is wisdom. Take notes. All right. So do you have any remaining debt? And if so, why are you holding on to it?
So we have just a little bit of student loan debt left, less than $10,000. And we have not paid that off only because the government is doing whatever it's doing. And, I feel personally responsible for the debt that we took out. But if we can get a little bit, that's going to help us kickstart our children's college savings. So just trying to be wise stewards of our money. And we do have it in savings just in case something goes awry so that we could pay it off and just be done with it. But that's what we have left.
Excellent. Yeah, I can understand that. So can we talk a little bit about income, some of the nitty gritty? What were you making at the beginning of the debt payoff? And then as you kind of collected these jobs along the way between you and your husband, how much money did you end up, or where are you at now? How much did you accumulate over the course of the payoff?
So we had a combined income of $115,000, just our base salaries when we started. We moved up to about $140 base salary. And then with everything else, overtime, extra jobs, we're probably at about $175 for this last year. So
nice. And have you gone down any with the extra income, taking your foot off the gas at all?
Just a little bit on my husband's overtime, especially because he was working so much, but he's still he worked overtime last night, picked up some hours here and there because we still have some large financial goals that we're trying to hit. We are saving for upgrading our vehicles, and then we are obviously saving for an emergency fund as well, but we're back to investing in our 401ks. We have started small college funds for our kids. So, and we took a huge vacation to celebrate in September, and we loved it so much. We will be taking the same vacation next September. So we're saving for that as well. Matter of fact, we were in Orlando for the hurricane at the end of September. We celebrated at Universal Studios for 6 days. 2 of those days we were at our hotel room, hoping and praying that everything was going to be okay, which it was.
Sorry on behalf of this.
It's okay. You know what? I live in a hurricane prone area too, so I knew exactly what I was doing when I booked that vacation.
Oh, that's so amazing to kind of know where you want to be next, what the goals are with your income. How does this feel from where you were at the beginning of debt payoff to where you are now?
It's just relief, and there's no pressure, and it just feels like there's just a lighter air in our household. Like I don't want to say there's no worry, because there's always some worry, but there's, we're not stressed like we used to be or panicked. We can go and do we're loose budgeters. We're not strict budgeters. We have an idea, but we budget I budget in fun, so my kids know what to expect and we're not missing out on anything with them. It feels really good. And now I'm on a journey to help other people. Part of my full-time role, I'm kind of like a career coach in a sense. So trying to help people make better educational choices and better career choices so that they can stay debt-free and get qualified for the roles that they dream of.
Oh, that's so great. I too am a loose budgeter. I love the flexibility. So I get it. So what would you say to somebody or to yourself who was where you were at 2 years ago and wants to have this feeling that you found, who wants to accomplish this goal that you've accomplished? What words of wisdom would you give them?
Oh my gosh, so much. But I'll go with, when you first start, it might seem overwhelming and like there is no end in sight. But you just have to keep moving forward. I forget who says it, but the only way out is through. So just making those small goals and not, when I looked at our debt and it was over $100,000, that was so overwhelming. But when I was able to break it down into just smaller wins, like how much can I put towards our debt this week? Or, what can we pay off this next month? It was a lot easier. And I talk to people all the time when I, put out on social media that we achieve this goals. People are constantly messaging me going, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I'm like, I tell them exactly how we did it. And they're like, well, we could never do that. Well, I was in that place too one time where I thought we could never do it until we actually just tried. Like, you just have to try.
Yes, it's so true. It can seem so daunting if we just are only focusing on the final goal or final destination, but breaking it down into these small, manageable, tangible, approachable steps, that's where the progress is going to happen. And we can find ourselves on the other side, similar to yourself, Katelyn, where we say, I did it. I thought I couldn't do it, but I did it because I just took it one step at a time.
Yeah, you're so right. There's so many people that are like, I could never do that. I could never do that. And maybe your journey doesn't look like Katelyn's or like ours, but if you're focusing on these getting 1% better sort of tiny changes, then those snowball. And that is really the secret to success. It's not sexy, but that's it.
Thank you.
All right, Katelyn, we have come to the time in the episode where it is time for you to celebrate your big accomplishment. This is $100,000 of debt in 18 months, making $115,000 up to $135,000, working feverishly, tirelessly, tiresomely. And so now we want you to be able to celebrate in whatever way you want to celebrate. So how is that going to be?
I don't really know. I think it's celebrating enough just to share the story and encourage other people along the way.
You can maybe give us a little chair spin.
Just a little twirl. Hold on, let me make sure I don't.
Yeah. I don't know if we've got enough.
We don't have enough room to spin with you.
We'll swivel with you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey, Katelyn. It is such a pleasure and motivation and encouragement, as usual, to hear stories like this. You and your husband, Travis, you really crushed it.
That I was great to play again. I think Katelyn's journey really shows the importance of being an informed consumer, asking the right questions when it comes to education and finances. And that's what led her to find scholarships and grants and ultimately profit from her master's degrees and get that doctorate for free.
Yeah, it reminds me in some ways of what we talked about in Nika's story a couple weeks ago, last week, and just how much research and looking into resources available to you can really help, not just in debt payoff, but in avoiding future debt.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we go into debt that may not be necessary. And we don't always know that when we signed up for these college loans at 18 years old, 17 years old, some of us. But now we can be implementing some of that knowledge. We don't have to feel bad about the decisions we previously made. We can take actions now to get ourselves in a place that we want to be in. But if we want to be pursuing higher education or paying down debt, there are ways that we can do that and still be investing, like we've talked about in other debt payoff stories, or still potentially buy a house if that's what you want, or still travel, but finding some of these really resourceful ways of going about it, spending on what we value, paying down the debt. I just love the creativity and the resourcefulness that we're seeing in all of these people, including Katelyn.
Yeah, I loved all of the peripheral things too. So the working extra, the dedication, the teamwork that between her and her husband was great. And then also they didn't have like large sums of money to throw at this. They didn't sell anything extra. It was just small, consistent payments. And I think that is so boring. Like, but progress comes in what's boring, right? We don't want to be doing this forever, but I think when you start taking your mind off of the bigger goal, start taking it off the destination and start embracing the journey, embracing the day-to-day, like what the struggle has to teach you, then you can live in these like small moves, and like that is what ultimately breaks down the debt into manageable goals, and actions are what keep you motivated, not like, you know, coloring the thermometer to reach debt freedom or the debt-free payoff sheet grid is fun, but if you're not also tracking actions and really focused on those small everyday things, the seasons you can't color in as much are not as devastating, right? We feel like when we're making great progress, that's very motivating, but we're not making great coloring progress on our pretty charts. That can be pretty rough. So when we stop thinking so much about the destination and start embracing more of the day-to-day journey, that is such a key part of Katelyn's story.
Yeah, that part is what resonated with me. Breaking down the debt into those manageable goals being key to sticking with it, making progress. I think when I was in my debt payoff, looking at this big, lofty, tens of thousands number, that feels so unreasonable. But to then be able to break it down and say, but what could I reasonably do this month, this week, today? That is what helped me personally get through, similar to what Katelyn described. Just even if it's a small amount weekly or monthly, being, like you're saying, track those action steps that, yeah, here's what I was able to do. Or even if it wasn't, okay, I could throw $20 at it, but I did make some shifts this week that will be able to free up money later in the month, whether that's with food or activities that I ended up participating in. So I think we're seeing that across the board. It always looks different for everybody, but how it's kind of broken down into more manageable pieces is what got these people to this final stage of being able to say, I did it. Because it wasn't in this one heroic action. It was in all of the daily decisions and monthly actions that were taken that finally led to this point.
Yes. And we do have an update from Katelyn. She says, we are still debt-free, aggressively saving for retirement, college savings for our 3 teens, and paying down our mortgage. Our net worth has gone from negative $100,000 at the start of our debt-free journey in March of 2021 to $500,000 today. I completed my doctorate and I paid $0 for it. I did leave this as a bill of the week earlier this year. My husband has gone back to school to finish his degree in criminal justice, and we found a way for him to complete it for free. What?
Whoa, again,
Girl.
she's just getting these free degrees.
She is it. He recently was promoted to sergeant, and if he wants to go for the next rank in a few years, a bachelor's degree will be required. If you recall my quote on my bill of the week, yes. There is a difference between paying for a college experience and an academic program. And this is a prime example. Get the degree only if it's in need. We vacation regularly now. We found a great cadence of a short Disney trip at the beginning of the year with the kids, and my husband and I are now going to Disney by ourselves for our anniversary each year in May. So we can eat, drink, and ride what we want. And then we do a big trip to Universal in September. What can we say? We love Florida.
Yes, Katelyn.
You know, we partial to Florida too.
We should do a meetup on your anniversary. Hey, Frugal friends are here.
So fun. We'll buy you knives like as an anniversary gift. We love buying knives for people. But yes, I don't remember which episode her bill of the week was in, but I do remember the bill of the week. Goldie linked it for us.
Amazing,
we could listen
Goldie.
to it again. So maybe we'll play it. Should we play it?
We have another bill of the week.
We do have another bill of the week, but why don't we play two?
Should we play Katelyn's bill?
Okay.
I love pulling an audible. Look at us.
Okay.
We're just making decisions because it's our podcast.
We're going to play it right now.
Okay. This is the bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Hey, Jed and Jill, this is Katelyn. I'm a longtime listener, and I was actually featured on your debt-free YouTube series in early 2023. I shared a little bit about my journey with student loan debt and then getting my master's degree where I actually profited money. I had just started on my doctorate at the time of that recording, and now I am back to share my bill. My final tuition bill for my program was paid and then reimbursed by my employer. So between comparing and price shopping degree programs for value, an institutional grant, and tuition reimbursement from my employer, I am super happy and proud to share that my total out-of-pocket expense for my doctorate in education was $0. That's right. I got an advanced degree for free. I just finished writing my dissertation and I'm preparing for the final defense. I hope by the time this airs, I will officially be Dr. Katelyn. And since my program is pay per term, I have time left in my term to finish a postdoctoral certificate in organizational leadership. So I will definitely be taking advantage of this extra freebie. This is just a reminder that a quality education does not have to be expensive, and there is a difference between paying for an educational experience and paying for an academic program. Thanks for all you do.
Girl, yes.
Oh, my.
Oh, it was worth it to hear that again. It was so worth it, Dr. Katelyn.
Yes. Congratulations. And I know we've commented on this previously in whatever episode we aired your bill on before. But I really want to highlight what you specifically talked about in this bill of the tuitional reimbursement and the scholarship and grants that you looked into. I think this is really important for all of us to consider if we're looking at higher education, and specifically that tuitional reimbursement piece. If you're thinking about going back to school, looking for jobs that offer this as part of the benefits package. I know we've talked about that in other episodes when we talk about increasing our income or negotiating our income or benefits within our current employer. If we're not looking to job hop, are there things that we can be asking for beyond just a raise? Could we be asking for more vacation time, better medical benefits, or tuitional reimbursement if this is something you already want to do? And that can then put you into potentially a higher income earning bracket. So I love that specific tip. I think it's one of the things we often don't consider when looking for work. And it could even be a reason to go back if your employer offers it. Maybe you weren't thinking about getting your next degree, but if your employer does offer it, might as well. It could really help you in the future.
Yeah, especially if you're feeling maybe stagnant in your position, then you may want to go somewhere else or do something different within the company. Then this could be a really good thing. And if they offer it, that is essentially money on the table that you are telling the employer, no, you don't need to pay me that. That's fine. I don't need that money. Granted, this one, so it's not like the 401k match where you really do not need to do anything to get that money. You should be getting that money. This does take time, and so it's not the right season for everyone to do this. But like Katelyn, she had children, so they don't want you in your life as much. So maybe
Katelyn's awesome. I'm sure her teens love being around her. She takes them to Disney.
I know, right? So that would win mom points. If there's any reason to pay off your debt, it's so you can win your child's affection through Disney. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Katelyn. If you all listening want to submit your bill of the week, if it has to do with higher education for free, tuition reimbursement, scholarships and grants, just your own debt payoff journey, or your name is Bill and you want to talk about a day in the life. We love to hear it. Visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/Bill. Leave it for us. We can't wait.
Hi, I'm Katie Lowe's.
And I'm Guillermo Diaz.
And now we're back with another season of our podcast, Unpacking the Toolbox, where Guillermo and I will be rewatching the show
to officially unpack season 3 of Scandal.
Unpredictable. You don't see it coming. It's a wild, wild ride. The twists and turns in season 3.
Mesmerizing.
But also, we get to hang out with all of our old Scandal friends like Bellamy Young, Scott Foley, Tony Goldwyn, Debbie Allen, Kerry Washington.
So many people.
Even more shocking assassinations from Papa and Mama Pope.
And yes, Katie and I's famous teeth-pulling scene that kicks off a romance.
And it was peak TV. This is new Scandal content for your eyes, for your ears, for your hearts, for your minds.
Well, suit up, gladiators. Grab your big old glass of wine and prepare yourselves for an even more behind the scenes. Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Meet the real woman behind the tabloid headlines in a personal podcast that delves into the life of the notorious Tori Spelling as she takes us through the ups and downs of her sometimes glamorous, sometimes chaotic life and marriage.
I don't think he knew how big it would be, how big the life I was given and live is. I think he was like, oh yeah, things come and go. But with me, it never came and went.
Is she Donna Martin or a down-and-out divorcee? Is she living in Beverly Hills or a trailer park? In a town where the lines are blurred, Tori is finally going to clear the air in the podcast Misspelling. When a woman has nothing to lose, she has everything to gain.
I just filed for divorce. Whoa. I said the words that I've said like in my head for like 16 years. Wild.
Listen to Misspelling on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Cheaters and Backstabbers. I'm Shadi Diaz. And I'm Kate Robards. And we are New York City stand-up comedians and best friends. And we love a good cheating and backstabbing story. So this is a series where our guests reveal their most shocking cheating stories. Join us as we learn how to avoid getting our hearts broken or our backs slashed. Listen to Cheaters and Backstabbers on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And now it's time for the lightning round.
Pew.
Okay. So this question came from Goldie, and it's related to this debt payoff story from Katelyn, because one of Katelyn's advice tips was to ask for help in the debt payoff journey. So Goldie wants to know, who gave you the biggest support on your debt-free journey? Give a shout out if you want.
Biggest support on our debt-free journey. So I almost said Eric
because it's written in the
down. Travis and I were really like our biggest cheerleaders to each other. Yeah, that was really, and we had like friends who were supportive, but they were just maybe peripheral. They were not, you can only require so much of your friends, right? Like we wanted to put people in our life who were not distracting us from our goal or trying to convince us to not pursue our goal. But the people that we had in our lives were pretty much just like cool, yay, cool. And so they were, on board, but they weren't doing anything for us. Like Travis and I really were like our own, getting through it.
Your own cheerleaders.
We were.
You've even talked about in your own personal story how it was Travis's idea to become debt-free. And so he was kind of the initiator and the initial motivator to helping you like realize and envision a future life. And then you got on board and then you both encouraged each other. I love that. It's contagious.
Yeah, it is contagious. It's when you support your partner, I think it is much better to like, I don't know, what do they say? Pull instead of push, or Pushing sounds aggressive.
Wait, it's easier to push than pull someone, right? I don't think that this is. I don't think it's a good saying, whatever the correct saying is. But like, walk alongside them and really care about what they want in life and how the goals you reach together can better support that. And if the goals you want to reach doesn't better support the thing that your partner truly desires, like maybe you need to reevaluate your goals. Yeah.
So, but it just really, our desires lined up. So it was good.
Well, and then you've also talked about in you getting on board, it was listening to podcasts and reading books to really embrace and understand.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like that was a big support. And you yourself were blogging. You were probably your biggest cheerleader.
I was my biggest cheerleader. I want to take
there were
this
a lot of
time
pieces that came
to
together.
Thank me. No, but yeah, that was part of the, like what I said, embracing the journey, the day to day, not being so focused on the destination, but really embracing the friction of change.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever you are changing direction, like when you are stopping a car, the thing that stops that car is friction between the tire and the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the friction doesn't feel great, but it's essential. So how can we embrace that friction? And for me, it was writing, it was listening to lots of podcasts, and all of that. That was just like one of the ways that I personally was embracing that journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say the biggest support beyond, of course, what you're describing, both Eric and I being on the same team and having a similar goal in mind, Eric's parents offered some really tangible support to us. I don't know if I've shared this specific aspect, but since all of our listeners value authenticity and knowing the story, maybe I did in our debt payoff story. I can't remember. But they had a chunk of money from Eric's dad having sold his business that they offered to pay off the loan, and we paid them back. So essentially provided us with a small loan at a flat fixed interest rate. So I think at the time my student loan interest rates were somewhere around 6 or 7%.
Mm-hmm.
And they offered us this private loan at closer to like a 3%, but like flat rate on like 3% on the total amount of money, which was really amazing. We were very privileged to be able to have that opportunity. They were very kind and generous to kind of float that money for a time to provide that loan and for us to be able to pay them off in, of course, a dedicated time frame with interest. We still had to pay the money, but it definitely did help. I think just the stress levels of the amount of interest that was accruing on the loans from the loans that we had, the student loan debt. So that was just some very big, actual, tangible support that I think helped us. We paid off our debt in 7 years. It probably would have taken us closer to 10 years or maybe beyond if it weren't for that. We were both very dedicated to paying it off, but I was very thrilled that like some of that interest got cut out as a result of their help.
Did they set that up like through a local bank or something online? Like, or was that just like, this is what it's going to be amortized, like with 3%?
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
They set it up themselves, and I set up automatic payment just like to their bank account.
Nice.
And yeah, that's how it worked for years. It was funny. Then there was one year where his parents, you're getting more than you bargained for, but his parents, his mom especially, is this one who's like, I want you to get money now from us. I don't want to wait till we're dead. And so there was one particular Christmas where they gave all of us kids, couples, Eric is one of 3. So each kid and their spouse collectively each got a few $1,000s as whatever you want to spend it on. I think Eric's brother wanted to put a new window in their house, and I don't know what his other brother did with the money. I can't speak for them. But it was kind of this is like your inheritance and we want to see you receive it. And so we did buy a camera. It's still the camera that we use for some of our Frugal Friends stuff. And then we just gave the rest right back to them. Like, we want this to go to our debt. Thank you. And here you go again.
Here you go. Passing money. I love that's like gift cards at the holidays. Like everyone's just passing around $25 in the form of different gift cards.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thanks for joining us for this debt-free summer.
Debt-free summer.
And if you're loving this, please leave us a review. Like we've described, we're doing a giveaway. So screenshot it before you submit it. Send it to Jen at frugalfriendspodcast.com. And here is some fuel. If you feel like you've got writer's block, here's one that we love. Comes from Pippin Pop. Friends who are frugal together stay together. 5 stars. What a great show. So nice to learn new tips and tricks and consider things previously not considered. Budgeting is hard. Thanks for making it fun every Friday.
Woo!
Well, and Pip and Pop are also making it fun every Tuesday too.
We love a Friday, but we also love a Tuesday. So thank you for listening. Please, please, please take a minute to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Not only do you get a chance to win $100, it helps potential new listeners know what the show is all about. So they make sure they're seeing the most up-to-date reviews, not reviews from like 2 years ago. We were different people then, so we want them to get really up-to-date reviews and know what the show's about.
See you next time.
Bye. Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Sirianni. All right, Jill, this is super important to talk about.
Okay.
Today is the day this comes out is my biannual, every other year Olympic watch party. Olympic opening ceremonies watch party.
Cannot wait. I think I've been to... Woo! We always drop things at this point in the show.
Yikes.
I think I've been to 2 of your parties. Maybe only 1, but I feel like 2.
I think you were definitely at the last one for the Beijing Winter Olympics.
Yes, I do. Yes.
But it got a little wonky there with COVID. We didn't, I don't think we did one for Tokyo. But yeah, I've been doing these for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And no, for Tokyo, we did the summit. The Frugal Living Summit. So instead of having just like a party like locally, we hosted it kind of like in tandem with our Frugal Living Summit.
That's
what I did.
And we had an opening ceremonies party for the virtual.
Yeah, it was
summit.
Virtual. Oh yeah, man, that was a good
fun. We have fun.
Okay, so I am obsessed with the Olympics. I think it is a beacon of hope in a world divided. The Olympics really bring people together around hard work and dedication and a little bit of steroids. And I love it. And so I love the opening ceremonies specifically, like the Parade of Nations makes me cry. And this year, much to the chagrin of my husband, will be my biggest year yet.
Ooh, tell us more.
Okay, so we are introducing for the first time the Children's Olympics.
What?
The Children's Pentathlon, the Children's Modern Pentathlon, where children will compete to be named champion of the children.
At your house.
Everyone gets a gold medal. That's what that means. But we have come up with, I say we, it's me. And I told Travis and he's like, yeah, that sounds great. 5 sports that literally it's just kind of like you do it. There's no competing involved. You just do it and move on to the next sport. So we've got shot put. And I am getting bouncy balls that look like shot puts.
Awesome.
That you just like throw. And then the kids can also like keep the bouncy ball.
Cool.
There is breakdancing, where will be a 30-second breakdance timed and rated by the parent.
Wow.
There will be, because breakdancing is new in the Olympics this year.
Whoa.
There will be basketball, where you have to throw your bouncy ball, which was your shot put.
Yeah, we're not getting two different kinds of balls here. We're frugal.
So you've got basketball. Obviously, there's not all the same modern pentathlon sports for the children. Like, I wasn't going to include like any like shooting or archery. So we've got the marathon, which is just going to be a lap around our side lot. We live on a double lot. So this side lot is like perfect. It's a lap around.
Their understanding of what it means to be an Olympian is going to be entirely skewed. They're like, I ran a marathon when I was 4.
Yes. And then the last one, that was, okay, breakdancing, basketball, shot put, marathon. The last one is equestrian. And we're going to take the Kai's little Ford Bronco toy, and all they have to do is drive the Ford Bronco from one end of the yard to the other. That's
you're gonna put a picture of a horse's face.
I mean, a Bronco is a horse.
That's true.
So that's going to be the equestrian, the riding portion.
Oh wow, Jen, you're really going all out. I'm excited.
And so I will have themed food and cocktails. The French 75. Of course, because it's in Paris. And then probably just a Jack and Coke for America.
What's a French 75?
Gin and champagne and lemon. I know, right? Why don't we drink French 75s more often? I know.
Things.
It is such a good cocktail. And then just some like hors d'oeuvres. Like everyone can bring their own country. Oh, I'm getting country flags. So when you walk in, you get to choose the country you're rooting for by picking their flag.
We're never going to leave. You'll realize
you'll
we're
leave
never
promptly at 10:30 or 11 whenever the opening ceremonies are
over. Yeah. Well,
it's a hard cutoff time. I love that about the party too, because it's a hard cutoff.
Here's the thing that's also happening. It's basically the debut of your renovated home. You have been renovating your house with the deadline of the opening ceremonies of the Summer Olympics.
This is not a lie. She does not tell a lie.
So this day is just going to be jam-packed. I don't think you're getting rid of me till midnight. I'm just going to say that.
I am okay with that.
Okay.
Welcome to the Sino Show. I'm your host, Sino McFarlane. I'm an addiction specialist. I'm a coach, I'm a translator, and I'm God's middleman. My job is to crack hearts and let the light in and help everyone shift the narrative. I want to help you wake up, and I want to help you get free. Most importantly, I don't want you to feel alone. Listen to the Sino Show every Wednesday on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Trap Nerds Podcast.
This is not an episode.
I'm pretty sure this is a promo.
You know what it is. We in this piece.
Trap nerds. Real niggas like you never heard. We giving you reliable gaming news
with the best movie and TV reviews from a blurred perspective.
All things inside and out of blurred culture.
Listen to the Trap Nerds Podcast on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2020, in a small California mountain town, 5 women disappeared. I found out what happened to all of them, except one, a woman known as Dia, whose estate is worth millions of dollars. I'm Lucy Sheriff. Over the past 4 years, I've spoken with Dia's family and friends, and I've discovered that everyone has a different version of events. Hear the story on Where's Dia? Listen on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.